kids. It's Grandma Bev. How are you doing today? It's very warm today out here in the Seattle area. It's supposed to be in the 90s today. It's supposed to be the hottest day of the year so far. So glad we have air conditioning. Well, today I thought I'd try something a little different. I'm going to do, I guess, what you young folks would call a vlog, where I'm going to talk about my life. In other words, a little bio of Grandma Bev. Some of you seem to have expressed an interest in that, wondering, where does this lady come from? How does she know anything? She's just, an old lady and blah, 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 blah. So I just thought I'd try this. Now, I haven't figured out how to clip things from my videos when I edit them. So what you see is what you get. I don't remove anything. I just, I get, what's the word? Chatting, blabbering, talking. And sometimes I go a little bit too far. So ignore some of the parts, okay? But here we go. Should I have some melancholy music playing in the background? You're like, doo, 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 doo. Anyway, that goes way back, that song. So, I guess I should start with my parents. They got married in 1945 after World War II ended. And they ended up having 5 children, of which I was one of them. Now, the first one, unfortunately, he died when he was about 22 months old from a tragic little accident. So when I was born on a cold, snowy day in Long Island, New York, on December 23rd of 1949. I was put in the position of being the oldest child of 4 who lived. Okay. So let's see, little Beverly was, an average size kid. Well, I was 8 pounds something when I was born. But growing up, I was skinny as a rail. You believe that? Tall and thin. I got teased all the time. I don't know if younger folks ever heard the term long, tall Sally, jolly green giant. Oh, well, I was called all this. So I didn't have a very good view of myself. But what the heck, life goes on, right? I was raised in a very strict Catholic upbringing, so I was brought up with guilt. When I was in about 5th, 6th grade, my mom decided she needed to go to work to help support the family, which she did need to. And I became her housekeeper, babysitter, cook, everything. But I had already been doing a lot of the stuff before that. Like they used to kid around saying I was like the little mama, who was taking care of the younger kids and stuff. But anyway, it was a good experience learning to be an adult that way. However, I did lead a very sheltered life. So, I went to Catholic schools, an all-girls Catholic high school. Wonderful education, though. Just didn't prepare me a lot for the real life. So about, 7, 8 months, those dogs back there are barking. After I graduated from high school, I got married. So, I should add there, I was not allowed to date until I was 18. Couldn't get my driver's license till I was 18. So, by 19, I was married. So I went straight from my father's home to my husband's. So within that first year, I had my first child, a wonderful little son. And 18 months after that, I had my second son. And then 6 years after that, I had my third and last child, my daughter. So 3 kids total. Oh, the kids were my life. Love those kids. Still do love them. But in my 20s, like I say, that was in the 70s. I was not what you could call a typical flower child or anything like that of the 70s, because I was busy raising my kids. Never got into partying or that was back when marijuana was really getting big, LSD was big, drinking, any of that. Never did any of that stuff. Yeah. Just busy being a mom. But I loved it. I was one of those moms that when school started, after I'd get them off to their first day of school, I'd go home and cry, because I loved being with those kids, I always felt like, there were so many things I wanted to do, with them, but we never got around to doing. But anyway, My sons got involved in ice hockey when they were 4 and 5 years old. So from that point until they graduated from high school, it was hockey, hockey, hockey. Every day of the week. So I was constantly going with the boys with that. Plus, some of the time I was working full time. I learned to be very independent during that marriage because I was on my own a lot, doing a lot of things, on my own with the kids. I'm not saying he was a bad man, and respect for my kids. I'm not going to say all the details or anything because he is their dad, and I did learn a lot from him. Like I say, I learned to be independent, and those who know me now and know my marriage I'm in now will say, "You were independent." But I did. I learned how to be independent from that man from him. It was on both our parts. It was a loveless marriage. And once you have kids, especially with the hockey situation we were in, it's like figure skaters. Their life just revolves around it, and you don't have much time for yourselves. So before we know it, we're up around 20, 21 years. Well, not 21 yet at that point. 19 years married, and during that time, a few years before the 19 years, I had fallen and herniated a disc. Well, for about a year, I was laid up with it. Tremendous pain. Oh, my God. So about a year after that, I finally had back surgery. It's like it changed my life. Suddenly, I was no longer in pain. It's like I reevaluated my life, and I started realizing, hey, I deserve more than this. My kids are getting older. What am I going to do when they're on their own, So I threw out the idea of divorce. And he said, yeah, he went along with it. It's like, oh my God, it's actually happening. So my daughter and I moved out because I didn't want to have to also take care of the house, getting it sold, all that stuff too, because I had taken care of everything all those years. It's like, let him take care of that part of it. But anyway, we moved out. It was like when of course I was about 38, but when I hit around 30, see how I backtrack? Because other things pop in here. When I hit around 30 is when I started going through my rebellious teenagehood. Talk about being late. But part of that was, when we'd be out of town for hockey, all the parents would get together, go to bars and drink and stuff like that. And so I started having a lot more fun with myself. So, like I say, by the time I hit 38, it was time to move on. Yeah, the whole time I was growing up, as a child and in my first marriage, I never felt like I was enough or good enough. Could never please. So I went through a lot of years of counseling, before I made that decision. And what the counseling did was it really helped me learn to understand life and men. So by the time I left, I knew that, hey, I did not want to be married again. I'd already done that. I had my kids. I was having no more kids. So what did I need a man for, right? Then Bob came around. Not that I didn't date other men. I dated a lot of men, I tell you. About 6 months after I moved out, Bob and I got involved. And oh man, I couldn't believe it. The way this man treated me, the way I felt about him. I never had those feelings. I thought those feelings were just in movies and romance novels. And I tell you, it just scared the out of me. What do I do now? So I was getting ready to move out of Washington. I'll backtrack. Back when I was 3, my parents moved from New York to San Francisco Bay Area in California, and that's where I was raised. Okay. In '79, when my daughter was about 2, that's when my ex and I, we moved up to Washington, started our life up here. So by 1989, the marriage had fallen apart. My 2 sons were basically on their own. They both graduated from high school. I had Michelle. She was 10 when we split up. So it's just Michelle and I. So with me came Michelle. We were a package deal. So I was deciding that I was going to maybe move back down to California, start my life over there. I was, getting close to 40. You'd heard that when you get around 40, if you're not married, you might as well forget it, right? The things we were raised with. So I met Bob just a little bit before I headed down to California for Easter break to go check out the job situation, apartment situations and stuff, be down near my parents, so it was at least near family, a support system. The whole time driving down there, I kept thinking about Bob. So by the time I came back, and while I was down there, I didn't even look around for jobs. I didn't look at apartments. So by the time I came back, we really got into the dating. And man, I knew I was in love with this man so quickly. And what was weird was it was returned. So we weren't going together very long before we decided to get married. Now, Bob had 2 daughters. One was Michelle's age, about 6 weeks older than Michelle. And then Bob's other daughter was 18 months younger than our 2 daughters. So they were, about 11, 12 when we got married? Wrong thing to do. Now, we didn't totally blend because his daughters didn't live with us. It was just Michelle. But the girls were up from California, because Bob's from California. And all summer long. It was a challenge, and we felt, boy, if our marriage could make it through at least 5 years till the girls were out of high school, we had it made. So we did. We made it through. And now we're going to be married 30 years in September. Just adore that man still. Now, I always have had a lot of health issues. And he just totally understood me, I'd made a list when I was going to counseling of what I wanted in a man. And I carried it on me. That's what the counselor had suggested. And he met just about everything on that list. But added to it was that he likes to cook. Well, I didn't really like to cook because I'd been cooking since I was, 11, 12 years old? So I thought, okay, let the man do it, how long will it last? Well, like I say, 30 years later, he's still doing the cooking. I gave up on it because whenever I've tried to go in and cook, it's like he's right there trying to tell me what to do. So it's like, what the heck, you do it, I don't care. He even cleans up afterwards. But anyway, I thought of something I was going to say. Our first Thanksgiving together was in my apartment, and I was going to make our first Thanksgiving dinner. And this man comes over, And he's telling me what to do. He's just taking over on everything, and I got really kind of offended. Like, what the heck? But then I remembered, Mama didn't raise no fool. And I thought, what's wrong with you? If he wants to do it, let him do it. So I surrendered. Never regretted that part of it, I'll tell you. Jeez. So anyway, like I mentioned earlier, I have a lot of back problems. So this man just, he does all the hard stuff in the house. I still do a lot of things too. There's things that I do, but I think a lot of people don't realize what all I do in the household. But he's just the greatest. And they probably get tired of seeing us gushing over each other and never fight. We don't agree on everything, but we'll just discuss it and then it's done. So, as far as getting married back when the girls were teenagers, at the time I was thinking, oh man, what have I done? Should I have waited till Michelle was on her own, graduated? But when I met with one of my counselors before I married him, I said, I don't know if I should get married or not. And she says, well, it might be the best thing for your daughter. So, she said, that way she sees a marriage, one kind of marriage, and then she sees the opposite kind of marriage. And from there, once she starts dating or wants to get married, she can make her own choices about what she's more comfortable with. And, well, that made sense. So, we went ahead and got married. And, by her third marriage, she's got it right. Her husband, they've been married, I guess, almost 11 years, 10 years, something like that. He is so similar to Bob. He treats her so nice, so well. Now, she does all the cooking. He doesn't like to do cooking. She likes to cook. But she wasn't made to be the cook and the housekeeper when she was a child. So. Which I should add, my mom, when she was going through about 6 months of the dying process, she apologized to me and said she always felt so bad that she felt like I never really got to be a child. Well, hey, Mom, you did what you had to do, I may kid around about it, but, what the heck. So, excuse me. So, moving on, my sons, all three of my children are very successful people. All three are married. I've got 2 grandchildren, 1 grandchild, 1 grandson. Bob has 1 grandson, so that's all we'll be having. Unfortunately, my grandkids live in New York, so I don't get to see them as much as I would have liked to. And I don't get to see my sons as much as I would like to. Now, my daughter, like they say, when your daughters marry, you gain a son. When your sons marry, you lose a son. And it's true. I mean, they've got to live with their wives, so they got to, they can't be thinking about mama all the time. But sometimes it's hard to take, but I know that I must have done a good job. So, moving along in the years, let's see. My daughter, her second marriage was to a guy in the Navy. And his ship got repositioned to Norfolk, Virginia. So we're in the Bremerton, Seattle area. And so she had to move to the East Coast. And that's how she ended up over there. So she asked if I would drive with her to help her with her cat, Alvin, the human. And it'd be just kind of like a fun road trip, kind of an ending thing for us to do before she's way over there. So we did that, and we had our moments, but it was a very memorable trip, very memorable. Alvin was a doll. He was like, people who think that cats are standoffish and You're wrong. Until you have one, you let it be itself. They've got personalities. Everyone does. Anyway, so that was 2005. So that's 15 years ago now. Well, shortly after she was over there, that marriage went, you know, so she was stuck in Florida because that's where he was from. And when he got out of the Navy, they were sent back to his home place. So that's why she was there in Florida. But she met her current husband in Florida. So, can't complain about that. So a couple of years ago, they decided to move to Vegas, which was, wow, great. Should be on the West Coast. Always gotten along with my daughter. I mean, we have our moments, that's for sure, That's for sure, right, Michelle? But, I don't know, at some point, do any of you gals, my age or maybe even a little younger, realize that your daughters have kind of become like your mothers? I don't mean my daughter was like my mother, but kind of acted like a mother towards me. It's like, I guess this is the cycle of life. I've learned so much from that gal, I tell you, and that's what I'm doing on here. So anyway, it took, a year and a half, 2 years, something like that, before the move took place. And once again, she asked me if I would fly to Florida and ride with her and her two cats, Marty and Zelda, who, if you watch her videos, they play a part in them. And we'd do another road trip. And I was kind of leery because I don't know, the first trip we kind of really butt heads and stuff. But that was 14 years before, earlier. She was a lot younger, and so was I, So, sure, I'll do it. Well, she had gone into doing YouTube videos a few months before that. So she asked if I would mind being on the videos because she wanted to do, the trip across country on video form. And I thought, oh God, I don't want, everything is dork. Remember, I didn't have a good, by around age 40, I still didn't have good self-esteem. Nobody accepted me, I felt, for what I was. So I agreed to it. Couldn't have her do it by herself. So we planned this trip out, right? And I flew back there, and we started heading out. And the first day, she was in Tampa area. We couldn't find our way out of Tampa. It's like, wait a minute. How are we going to do a cross-country trip? But we finally got out of there. You've got to watch those videos. They are really fun, especially the first day. I mean, we had a ball. I had so much fun on that trip. I'm so glad that I made it. And now, being she recorded it, we can go back anytime and watch the videos. Well, of course, that got me a little more comfortable being on video. In fact, it was a year ago. In fact, she just got to Vegas a year ago, right around this week. So by October, I'm going to try doing it myself. But I wanted to do it on traveling because Bob and I, once we both retired, started going to Europe on cruises. Before that, we always did Caribbean because, I could only take a week off work. But so once he retired, a few days after the retirement, we took off our first trip to Europe, and we love it. It's just so much history and things to see over there. So the last couple of years, we've gotten into watching YouTube videos on the different places that we'd like to go or thinking of going to see if they're really worth going for what we want to get out of it. And I felt like some of the videos were just lacking, in what I wanted to find out. We also are RVers. We've always had a motorhome, and once we retired, we started going down to Arizona for the winters. And so I thought, I could do reviews on the different parks that we stay in on the way down, the park we stay in while we're there, just or our various trips. So I thought I would do videos on those, and that was the birth of Cruise and RV Travel Tips. That was last middle of October 2019. Did videos all the way down of the trip. People watched them, was really happy. And then coronavirus hit. We had 2 cruises planned. Both got canceled. No camping. We haven't done any camping. So I had to start coming up with, geez, I don't want to just leave my account sitting there stagnant, So I just started doing other things like Stitch Fix, all those other videos that a lot of my daughter do. And so I kind of started copying her. Right? And I started getting more and more watchers. So a couple of weeks ago, I decided to, who knows when I'm going to get to do all the other stuff again. So let's come up with something more generalized. And my daughter helped me come up with Life with Grandma Bev, because I am a grandma, and I am 70, so I am older. So that's how Life with Grandma Bev got born. Now, we do have 2 cruises planned for next year. Same ones, in fact, that we had planned for this year. We've rebooked them for next year. So hopefully we'll get to take them. We do have 2 camping trips coming up, one towards the end of August and one in September that I will be doing videos on. But other than that, now, way back in this video, I mentioned I was skinny as a whale. I stayed that way until I was about 40. And someone else started cooking for me. And I started going through menopause, and now all those years of trying to gain weight, were you stupid? So I developed very bad habits back in those years, the first 40 years of my life, and now it's hard as heck to change them. But I'm working on it. I want to lose 30 pounds between now and September 2021, when we're supposed to go on a cruise. Now, so we'll see what happens. Now, anything else about my life you might want to know? It hasn't been easy, especially the first 40 years. But they say, you go into relationships and into things that you do because those relationships provide something that you needed. And I really, I agree with that. And I also agree that life is always a series of starting overs. Figure, I started my parents, when I was born. When I was 19, I started a new phase. 20 years, so it was 21 years by the time our divorce was final. 20 years with that situation. And now, though, I broke the pattern. Now I've been 30 years with this situation, and I'm not going anywhere. Neither is he. So, let's see, what do I like to do? Well, I got involved in genealogy through my daughter. She asked me to help her find this one particular relative or ancestor of mine because she's having a hard time finding it. Help break down some brick walls. I got so involved in it. Oh my God. Still didn't knock down all the brick walls for that one, but everybody else I've been finding, I have found relatives we didn't know we had. I found some dirty secrets, so that's been very interesting and fun. And it's something I can do just sitting inside. Because like I say, I've got a lot of health issues, number one of which is, the back. Number 2 is chronic fatigue syndrome. So I'm always very weak and tired. And number 3 is insomnia. I don't sleep. I have I've gotten better. Now I only have maybe one night a week that I'm awake all night long, trying to go to sleep, So the genealogy is something that I can do, inside while I'm sitting. So then once the genealogy started kind of wearing off, because you reach so far, and you can, you get where you can't really find as much info on the people once you've found so much of it. And that's when I got involved in this, YouTube videos, of which another thing, I'm at home. I don't have to go out walking around, all that kind of, well, except when I go buy some stuff. But I don't do that. Most of the stuff I get online, and I've been doing online shopping for quite a few years. So, because once I found the things that my husband just adores me in, never had that back before. I just felt like I looked like all the time. Nothing ever looked right on me. And no, he just doesn't complain. And I just feel so much better about myself. I just can't believe this man has stayed with me for 30 years. And when we got married, I looked at it and had, maybe the last 5 years, and then he'll find somebody else, right? It just never happened on either one of our part. It just, I know I keep gushing about my man. What can I say? Such is life. So anyway, sounds like the garage door. Is he already home? Anyway, we are still live in Washington, like I say, but we go down to Arizona for the winters for it's about 6 months by the time I get home. And of course, this year we had to come straight home, and we've been in stay-at-home mode, except for he's out golfing. Twice a week he golfs, which is cool. Gives me time to myself, to maybe make these videos. Most of the time he's sitting over there. He won't get on them, but he's sitting over there, and I feel like I'm talking, and he's listening to me ramble on. I do keep him entertained. So the stay-at-home hasn't bothered me that much, because I'm normally a stay-at-home person, What can I say? Oh, I did have another back surgery. I did mention that about, 3 years ago? 4 years ago. I had a spinal fusion. That helped a lot. I'm still always in pain, but not that excruciating pain I was in for so many years. It makes it so hard to walk. And I pushed myself anyway. We'd go on all those trips to Europe, and I'd be pushing myself, because if I'm going to pay that much money, I'm going to enjoy it. And I see things, and I try not to let my health issues keep me from enjoying life and doing things, because you only have one to live. And speaking of which, I've been one of the lucky adults to have my parents for a lot of years. My mom died back in 2013, about 6.5 years ago, right before she was 86. And my other siblings live in other states, so I was the one that was their caregiver as far as they're responsible for them. I called them the two toddlers when I tried to take them out places. But anyway, they were in assisted living and then nursing homes. And when she died, my dad just turned 90. Now, my dad was diagnosed with dementia back when he was around 80. So by the time she died, it was like when he hit 90, he couldn't form any new memories, okay? And the poor man didn't remember that his wife died. And always walk around looking for his Rosemary. Every time we go there, where's your mother? She didn't die, did she? And I'd have to say, yes, she did, Dad, 5 years ago. No. So he relived that, over and over. Now, it got to the point where, about a year ago, he didn't remember me anymore, So I feel like I mourned the loss of my dad, how I knew him, because we had a lot of good memories, my dad and I was always referred to the apple of his eye. And I already mourned the loss of my dad. So he just died on May 18th of this year. Not from COVID. So he was all those years, 6.5 years, by himself, in the nursing home looking for my mother. And he fell broke his hip. Now, the man had been falling left and right all those years, never broke a thing. Me, I fall, surgeries, I break things. But he finally broke something. And within about 2-3 weeks, he just went downhill from there, and he did pass on. So he would have been 97 in October. So, I'm grateful I got to be there with him. I wasn't with him when he passed on. I went there because of COVID. They weren't letting anybody in. And the day before he died, they made an exception, and they let me come in. They had moved him from the room he was in, it was a double room, to a single room. Now, get this. It was the exact same room Mom was in when she died, in the same spot. How's that? Creepy or what? So he was alone in that little room, and I went in, and of course, he wasn't lucid or anything. And I, just talked to him, and I just talked about all kinds of stuff that had happened. And I thought, someone from hospice told me that they know what you're saying to them. So I thought, okay, I'm going to talk about all these fun times we had and stuff. And then the next day I went back, and in the meantime, I had recorded songs. He loved singing. He loved to be in plays at the church, and oh my God, the man just loved that stuff. So I went in and I played music for him, all his songs, and talked some more. And I finally had to leave, and within 45 minutes I got a phone call that he'd passed on. So it was like, oh, he's finally with Mom. So I'm happy for him for that. But it makes you realize you never know how much you're going to miss your parents till they're gone. So many things, your whole life, my whole life, they were in my life. And so many things that come up in life, you can associate to your parents, or memories that come up are things with your parents. So it's been a hard year that way. Couldn't see our kids this year. What can you do? Hopefully next year will be a better year for everybody. It'll be a new normal, but you have to just adjust to things as things happen. Look at people who end up losing a limb or something. They adapt, they adjust, they go on with life, they do things that everybody else does. You just kind of have to take it with a grain of salt and do what your heart tells you is right. Yeah. So anyway, I think that's about it. Like I predicted, I got rambling. Will this woman ever shut up? No. So, if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to ask. Because, there's things I've been through that I just don't talk about on here. So, if you have any questions about, hey, did you ever go through this, and what did you do about it, and blah, 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 just feel free to ask. If you have things private you want to talk about, let me know, and I can send you an email address, and you can contact me through that way and be private. So, here goes. If you like this video, please hit the little like guy. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit subscribe. The little bell will pop up. Hit notify all. And as I post these videos, you will be notified right away. So, hope you're having a good day. I think it's hot everywhere today. So, drink a lot of water. Wash your hands often. And out of consideration for others and yourself, wear a mask. It's not going to hurt anything. You wear a seatbelt. No. Anyway, we won't get into that stuff. So I love you all. Hope you're all doing well. Hope everybody's still healthy in your family. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.